It's like a game they're playing with us. You either win or you die.
Pigs are running madly through our community, slaughtering off our children and our women. And the truth in America is that America is a sick society. America is full of motherfuckers who have shitted on people who have...
afraid to die?
No, I'm not afraid to die. That's quite obvious.
Why are you people leading your people into the mass hysteria? When I walk through Washington, D.C., asking questions why they were rioting...
Hey, man, you're always in Washington, D.C. You're always in Washington, D.C., but you ain't doing nothing in Washington, D.C. Matter of fact, you out here in California right now.
That's right.
Sit on a committee that is supposed to be from this particular area, you know, but you're not even from this area because you spent most of your time in Washington, D.C. How come you're not in Washington, D.C. relating to the problems
Does that
in
make
Washington,
me a pig?
D.C.? No, I'm not going to have to call you a pig because you know what you are better than I do. What are you talking about, a mad dog? Define what... Would you like for me to define what a politician is? A politician is nothing but a debater. All that you do is debate issues, you fat pig, you meathead. That's all that you are because you a lying sucker. You lying to the camera. You lying to your mama. You lying to everybody. But every time I hear you open up your mouth, all I hear is oink, you pig. That's all I hear, oink. You know, because you ain't got no humanity in you because you're a pig. You lying punk.
Restrain the defendant.
Oh,
Restrain the defendant.
Mr. Chairman.
Shut him up. Shut him up. Gag him. Shut him up. Defense counsel. Shut him up.
What seems quite clear now is that instead of trying to bring the estranged and excluded Americans, such as these people, back into the national community, the administration has chosen to accept and exploit the present division within the country and to side with what it considers as the majority. Instead of a politics of reconciliation, it has chosen a politics of polarization.
Watch his hand.
Who looks delicious?
I don't think I...
Senator Harris.
Yes, sir.
May we ask you what you feel about your duty on the board today? What do you feel about disciplining of young people, for example?
Well, I think a number of these young people remind me of a situation I even had at home. I think it was one of my own daughters. I think for about a year we had quite a difficult time with her. She just didn't believe that there would be any kind of discipline at home, and we sort of worked that thing out.
May I ask you how you worked it out?
Well, I kept punishing her, and she kept responding until finally, after the year was up, we worked it out quite well. You know, you've got to remember that these children of ours today are much like skilled and trained, highly bred horses, you know. They're trained to go around that track, but then you've got to sort of hold them in, because if you let the reins out, why, after all, they'll just run around that track without any control at all.
Well, we do get a few oddballs before this tribunal, especially that one wouldn't kill a fly. He said he'd take one of these cups and catch the fly and take it outside and and let it free. He's probably a 1A now, or in Indochina, I believe. I wouldn't know.
You know, I'll tell you the truth, I'd rather be a lot more places than in the desert. I have a wife and family back home, and I guess, you know, there's certain things you have to do for your country, but all the abuse you have to take, and just seeing these characters having no respect for this country, and it's difficult. We sit there, we try and give them a chance to have a fair say, but they just don't seem to appreciate it.
Oh, it's a very difficult job to do, it really is. But somebody has to do it, you know. We do our best.
What would you do if one of your own children appeared before you on the tribunal?
Oh my God, no, my kids wouldn't do that. They really wouldn't, they've been trained differently.
I see a running pattern of paranoia in these youngsters.
This may sound funny, but it isn't funny. I think there should have been more spank and less spark in America, and our youth wouldn't be what they are today.
These are political criminals. They are not social criminals. These are political criminals. They have to be shown that their way is wrong. We cannot show them that their way is wrong by killing them, by building gas chambers, or by setting up machine gun bunkers and firing them and covering them over with bulldozers. This is not the way we would like to operate.
Sir.
Oh!
Fuck!
Oh!
Let's get going.
Get the fuck out of here.
We're going where?
Let's try to make it to the flag.
How in the hell are we gonna make it somewhere? We don't have no water!
There's no water that way.
They're just playing with your mind until they kill you.
What would your forefathers have done, Mr. Calder, if during the Revolution they were all conscientious objectors?
The majority of my forefathers were conscientious objectors. It would include the people from England, too. And in that case, they would have been acting justly towards the people in the colonies.
James Arthur Kohler,
Wouldn't have had to have a
pacifist,
war or anything else
age
anyway.
20.
Probably wouldn't have been over here killing the Indians if they were acting justly and conscientious objectors.
Tell me, Mr. Calder, are you aware of the crisis in this country? How deeply do you feel about the present crisis of the nation, of the world at large, and the responsibility that we have to this crisis? What responsibility do you have as a citizen to this country?
My responsibilities as a citizen in this country do not include killing for it.
Then
I'm not going any further.
I'm not.
They want us to try and break out. They want us to become violent. They want us to be like them.
I'm not gonna go that way.
I'm not gonna let them play games with me anymore. Hey, anyone that wants to come with us, come on.
They've been playing games with you for years.
Listen, they want to blow your brains out. Really, you get out there, they're going to kill you. Straight and simple.
They're gonna kill you
No,
before they
that's
kill
it.
us.
See that? That's what'll kill us. Games like that.
Are you familiar with St. Thomas Aquinas?
Yes, I am.
I think he had this to say about a just war. He laid down a proviso for a just war. He said this, I think, that the war must be decided upon a legitimate authority. And secondly, that its objective must be to vindicate justice. And that thirdly, it must be waged with a just intent. Now, this was during the 12th century, before this present time, and he understood what a just war meant. Can't you understand that the policy in Indochina that we're in is even justified by a 12th century philosopher?
Senator, those provisos came from St. Augustine originally. And St. Augustine had a fourth proviso, which just shows the total absurdity of considering any war just. Is that a war must be waged under the control of a loving disposition, that no man is fit to inflict punishment until he has banished hate from his heart.
Temperature 109 degrees. Distance to the United States flag 27 miles.
Defendant, I take it from your philosophy you're opposed to slavery. Is that right?
Yes, I am.
And the Civil War was fought to free the slaves.
No,
That
it
was a
wasn't.
just war.
Speak up, will you?
It wasn't fought to free the slaves, and it wasn't a just war.
It was a just war because the black people themselves fought for freedom. Would you have fought on the side of the black people to gain their freedom in that war? Because
Black people haven't gained their freedom. What do you think that's happening right now is all about?